Of the Red Pill Diaries. I'm your host, Rashid, and we have Carl Zar here with us. How's it going today?
Hey, how are you, Rashi?
Onward into the show. I wanted to ask you about the arrogance of Macron, the French President Macron, as the people of Niger. They demanded the French not only pull out the military, but they demanded that the French ambassador be withdrawn, and Macron dismissed the people of Niger and the military of Niger and said that because we don't recognize them, we will not leave.
Emmanuel Macron a
The
dit
ultimatum ordering the French ambassador to leave Niger has expired, but the diplomat is still in the Nigerian capital and is confined to his residence under high security. That is the will of France's President Macron, who is challenging the legitimacy of Niger's new authorities and is determined to engage in arm wrestling. Monday, at the annual conference of French ambassadors, the French president spoke sharply, saying that without French military interventions in the Sahel region, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali would no longer exist. Those are words that further disgust the people of Niger.
For Macron, what I want to say to Nigerians, to Africa, France will leave Africa, not only Niger. France cannot threaten us. France cannot take Niger as a district of France. That is impossible. Niger belongs to us. It belongs to the people. We are citizens. We will defend ourselves to the last breath. It was Niger that built France. Our uranium, our gold, our oil, everything. France has nothing.
Ça, c'est la folie de Macron.
That's the madness of Macron. We have nothing to do with them. Africa existed long before them. Who brought terrorism to the Sahel? It's them. If we go back 13 years, there was no terrorism. There was no French army in the Sahel. Everyone circulated as they wanted. But now they have brought us terrorism. No, that's madness. It's his madness. It only engages him.
I believe that the French president should not say that he really has a normal conscience. The French forces have been here in the Sahel for years, precisely in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. This has not prevented terrorists from killing hundreds of people here in the Sahel. So I don't see the use of French forces in the Sahel. They have nothing to do here.
Macron said that the French ambassador will not leave Niamey because those who ask for his departure are not legitimate. His attitude does not please the people of Niger, who are offended by the arrogance of the former colonial power. But how far will this showdown take us? How can an ambassador practice without accreditation? Will the people of Niger end up crossing these barriers behind me to dislodge him? In the meantime, there is a total blockade on the residence of the French diplomat. Niger's authorities have cut off electricity and water supplies to the ambassador's residence.
What do you have to say on that matter?
Well, so what's the ambassador doing over there? I mean, if they don't recognize the government, what is your ambassador doing? He's literally holding up in his compound and refuse to evacuate the premises. First of all, okay, there's report that I don't know if it's confirmed, but there's report that the people in Niger have cut off power and water to the embassy. Good for them, because this is how you treat unwanted house guests, and that's your role is as an ambassador. You are there to put your nation in the best light. And if the best thing they could do is refuse to leave, it doesn't look good for France, and it's not. I mean, right now they are doing this for their own domestic audience inside France to show, okay, we're tough, we're not giving in, right? But they're actually not serving French national interest nor doing anything for the French image abroad. People in Africa see this as colonial arrogance, which it is, and it's very childish. And there's even report of there's a report from the Cradle. They say the France was trying to persuade India, to pressure India to reject application of Algeria into the BRICS membership, because France don't want its former colonies to be part of the BRICS. And Macron himself said, BRICS is hostile toward Western interests. This is why people in Niger are flying the flags of BRICS member nations. They're flying the BRICS of China, of Russia, and they're even India and North Korea. They're even flying the flag of North Korea, because this is a very clear signal they're sending to these Western powers, especially France. We don't want you there. We prefer the BRICS. Go ahead. You want to say something, Rashid?
Because I wanted your take on it, because there was an open statement by some Western policymakers, specifically from France, the United States, and Great Britain, saying that they refuse to give up what they deem as theirs, their colonies, to China and Russia's influence and China's and Russia's inroads into Africa, even though the African nations want China and Russia in there, but with the racist, arrogant mind frame of them, they don't even see the racism in what they're saying, as if those nations, those people belong to them.
It's like they're talking as if the Africans on the ground don't matter. If the Africans themselves have no agency, they're talking still like Africa is their own possession. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not 19. This is not 1923. This is 2023. 100 years later, you don't make the shots anymore, and you're not the only ones that the Africans have to turn for for credit, for finance, right? There's the BRICS nations are opening up their own banks, and they're developing BRICS currency. This is why the Africans want them out, because it's kind of overbearing colonial arrogance they have to deal with. And but these people, they're so cut off from reality, sitting in Paris and Washington. They are so oblivious and completely lacking in self-awareness, how they're being perceived in the global South. That's why they talk like this. They talk like they're still talking in their little old boys club, and but right now we're a global connected world. On the internet, the news travel fast. We all know what they're up to, and so I think that the sham can only go on for so long. This is why people in Nigeria want them out. They have to deal with them for centuries.
While we're talking on this, I want your comments, because this was this just like went under the radar. We had the BRICS meeting in South Africa. We have the ousting of France from Mali, from Burkina Faso, and we have now the ousting of France from Niger. And while this is going on, nobody mentioned that there's an China-Africa security forum. And why has that gone unnoticed, unspoken about, especially in the midst of the Niger problem, when the West has openly stated they see China and Russia's inroads into Africa as a security threat for them?
There are a lot of people, the pundits, they're already dismissive of BRICS. They're saying, "Oh, BRICS is a loser club." BRICS. We have people saying stuff like BRICS is not the country, is not among the countries where the wealthy elite will send their children to get educated. It's like that's not the point. Well, maybe they don't want your wealthy child, spoiled kids to come there to get educated. And of course they China and Africa summit. There's no white faces, right? Why should they even bother to cover this? But this is why they don't understand. This is why they're not wanted in Africa, because this is the kind of arrogance that people have to put up with for so long. Now they don't have to put up with anymore. There's a whole reason for the BRICS to come together. Like one of the things I have heard talking about is the revival of the spirits of Bandung. They're talking about the Bandung Conference in 1955, the first Afro-Asiatic conference that was held in Bandung, Indonesia, by the non-aligned nations. At that time, all these nations coming out of colonialism, all these decolonized nations from Asia and Africa came together and say, we don't want Cold War. We don't want to have to pick and choose who to trade with. We just want to develop our own country. We want to provide prosperity for our own citizens. And now, many years later, this is happening. The BRICS is finally pulling it together. And under BRICS, you have all the world's major oil producers, all the world's major food producers. Henry Kissinger once says, he famously said, control oil and you control nations.
Yes.
Control food and you control the people. Well, guess what? Food and oil are not the monopoly of the Western nations anymore. BRICS, the new members of BRICS, you got Iran and Saudi Arabia. There have been enemies for decades. Now they're sitting down together talking about peace and cooperation. And now you have the major oil producers. You have Russia, you have Iran, you have Saudi Arabia, you have UAE, and all of them are now in BRICS. It's like, what do we need France for? What's France bringing to the table, right? The people in Africa are asking the same thing. We don't. Why do we need you? In fact, we don't want you.
Don't forget about Ethiopia. As Ethiopia, the Chinese did a study and they found a large amount of untapped oil. And this, after the Chinese did the study and they found it, all of a sudden there was a uprising with the Tigray region and all of that stuff like that. So we can't forget that all of these uprisings are instigated or fomented by the West to try to prevent Africa's independence, China's rise, and Russia's reemergence on the global scene as a global player, and also to suppress Iran. Because as Dick Cheney famously said, anyone can go to Baghdad, but real men go to Tehran, meaning that they wanted to actually take out Tehran because it was in China's and Russia's underbelly, But I want you to listen to this clip. I'm not going to play the fullness of the clip. I'm going to play some of it, but this guy, he's projecting this, and this is a powerful congressman, and it happened around the time where the U.S. sent Congress people to Chinese Taipei against the wishes of the mainland's government. And I want you to see how, as he's speaking, it's okay for America to be dominant. It's okay for the dollar to be the world's reserve currency. It's okay for America to have unbridled, unchallenged influence. But God forbid, if China rises up and challenges this, they're being aggressive, they're being arrogant, and their ultimate goal is to supersede the United States and to overtake the United States. I just want you to listen to that and give me your feedback on the other side of this congressman in his talk. So here we are right here.
Welcome back. More warnings this morning coming out about doing business with China as Xi Jinping moves to make China the #1 economic superpower and overtake the United States. I spoke with Texas Congressman Michael McCall, the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. We spoke at the Milken Institute. I want to ask you about China because now the Chinese Communist Party has been able to get the Saudis to transact in the Chinese yuan. Are you worried about the dollar losing its reserve status?
Well, not so much that. What I don't like, all of a sudden they're the peace broker. They show up at the 11th hour. We're not there, right? When we don't lead, China fills the void. So they negotiate this peace settlement between the Saudis and Iran. And all it really means is they can have embassies in their respective countries. But they're doing it. Macron went to visit Chairman Xi in Beijing when I was in Taipei. What I do worry about the dollar is in the Belt and Road Initiative, that's their debt trap. You have to sign a contract saying, I'm going to sign up for the digital yuan. What China wants long term is for the digital yuan to be the global currency and not the U.S. dollar.
That's incredible. Tell me about that as it relates to surveillance, because I know that right now Ron DeSantis in Florida is pushing back on a digital dollar from the central bank because he feels that there's surveillance threats.
Well, I mean, some would argue we have to get, we got to compete with the digital dollar versus the digital yuan that China's on. China's in 140 different countries, Belt and Road. Each of those countries have signed up for the digital yuan. You do the math. Eventually, their goal is that the dollar is going to be the second-rate currency, and it will be the digital yuan. So we got to be this is a great power competition we're in.
This is an incredible story right here, and really an incredible development, in my view.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree, and it's not talked about very often, but they want to dominate everything. It's not just military, it's economic. And they want to have the global currency, that being the digital yuan, and they're well on their way to doing that now.
And they...
Peg, how is it that it's okay for America to be unchallenged? It's okay for America to have the global reserve currency. It's okay for America to be the dominant power economically, politically, technologically, and culturally. But it's incredible to even think about China aspiring to do that. And if you looked at the whole, she said it twice, I counted. Wow, that's incredible. Like, she couldn't fathom the idea of some nation, specifically a non-white, non-Western nation, rising up to the level as a peer or even supersede the peer competitiveness of America in the West. What say you on these matters?
It blows their mind. It's because they're so used to the U.S. hegemony over the world that for them that's the norm. That should be normal. It's not normal when the U.S. suddenly lose grip on the world, and also the representative, the congressman, he's just a typical U.S. politician. It shows how little he actually knows about the world affairs. He's like, oh, China is this peace rucker. What the hell is a peace rucker? This peace rucker is bringing peace between Saudi and Iran so they can have their embassy in their capital. No, dumb. China had embassy in both countries for a long time. This is how China are able to bring the two to the table. And the real reason is because U.S. has been involved in the Middle East as a destabilizer. We all know U.S. have been supporting Saudis against Iran. Before that, they were supporting Iraq against Iran in the Iraq-Iran war, and then follow up with a U.S. own invasion of Iraq. So U.S. has always been the destabilizer of peace in Middle East. This is why peace in Middle East is unacceptable for them. And what China is doing is finally, bringing an end to one of the worst humanitarian crises of this century, which is Yemen, the real humanitarian crisis in Yemen, not the fake genocide that supposedly happened in Xinjiang in China. And now that there's possibly a peace, it seems U.S. will be less relevant. I mean, the Saudis that had Saudi and all the Gulf Arab countries, they depended on U.S. for security guarantee because, they're a monarchy and sometimes they're not exactly popular with their people. So they needed the Washington's military muscles to be in the area to reassure them, to secure their own power. But now, Russia just showed that it can project military power into Middle East, like what Russia did in the Syrian war. Russia is, while U.S. was waging a proxy war, funneling all these jihadists to fight Assad, Russia is the one that actually put its foot down and sent its air force into Syria to bomb the hell out of those terrorists. And so now the Saudi and the Gulf countries see, hey, okay, so we're no longer really economically dependent on the United States, because before there's the petro-dollar, right? In the 1970s, Washington worked out a deal with the Saudis that they will price the oil in dollars. So that means that forced everybody to use dollar as world currency, because if you want to buy oil, you need dollars. It's just simple as that. That assured dollar status as a world reserve currency. But guess what? Right now, the Saudi's largest export market is China. And why do China and they right now there's no need for China to pay in the Saudi oil in US dollar, because China is a manufacturing center of the world. If the Saudi wants to buy goods from China and China wants oil, they can just do business in their own currencies. Saudi can take yuan as payment for oil, and then take that yuan to buy Chinese manufactured goods. There's no participation of United States in any of this. I mean, maybe they still could buy luxury goods, but like, I don't know what luxury goods US produce anymore. I mean, like, they can buy that from Europe. The luxury cars. So this is why US is suddenly finding itself being left out of the loop. And just by the talk of these between the anchor and the congressman, they're not quite there. They're. I mean, let's face it. Most of the U.S. politicians are not very educated. they're not very world savvy. They're really smart when it comes down to the grift, how to squeeze out every last cent of the tax dollars and line in their own pocket. They're great at that. But outside of that, that's not their area of expertise. Like the cliche, American play checkers. The Chinese play Go, right? So it's really game here.